Our Voice, Our Opinion is brought to you by Grand Diva Studios, owned and operated by Jamaica Kitchens, specializing in natural and healthy hair care. And welcome back to another segment of Our Voice, Our Opinion, and it's tax time, baby. And we're gonna talk to our financial guru, Mr. Ajamu Stoner, about taxes and should we save or splurge, and what's the best way to save. And I got a couple of questions about what should we do with our taxes, and what do you do with your taxes?
Well, that's a pretty open-ended question. Really, what I try to do is. At this point in my career, all my bills are pretty much caught up. So, number one, I think it's always good to have savings in the back of your mind.
Okay. Right.
Because there will be a time when you will get to the point financially where you can put some money aside, and you don't want to be surprised or not know what to do or not know where to place your money. So you should always think about where you want to put your money at.
So what if you're living check to check, and that, because a lot of people, I know from personal experience, a lot of people wait on their income tax.
Right.
And that's Christmas to some of us.
Been there, done that.
And you waiting on that check to come through, and some people save it and some people nibble off of it throughout the year, and it gets them through.
Right.
Which I think is a good thing, but some people taking it, okay, this is my time to buy a car, this is my time to finally catch up, from the past year. So what do you do when you're check to check and it's tight,
right?
And here comes that couple of thousand or whatever it is, and what should we do with it? You said savings is the initial thing, but if you can't save, it's like I gotta pay something, I gotta do something.
Right. So I think initially we talked about save or splurge, but then there's that middle ground where you're talking about get caught up.
Right.
And I think the key is to get caught up and figure out why it is that you're getting behind. If you're living check to check, well, maybe you don't have a lot of control of that, or maybe you do. I mean, nowadays there's so many expenses within your budget. I think we talked about this on earlier segments where you really have to have an idea of all your bills. And so I have an Excel spreadsheet, and I put everything down on there.
Right.
And I think what we need to do, and what I do, is go back and revisit some of the bills and see if that can be adjusted. Some of the things that me and you talk about personally, we talk about cell phone bills.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are huge bills. Back in the day, before we had cell phones, you had a house phone. Your house phone may run you $100.
Yeah.
But now you got cell phone bills that may be $150 for one phone. Depending on the service provider that you go to.
Speaking of cell phones, I believe that a lot of our financial problems come from the extra things that we really don't need.
That's what I was going.
Like you said, the cell phones, a lot of times we don't need $150 cell phone. Some people say, I gotta have it. And you're spending so much money on cable and cell phone and all of this, and you're getting behind, and you really don't see why you're getting behind. There's a lot of things, I think, if we inventory what we're doing with our money, like you're saying.
Exactly.
And cut off some of these things, then you might be in a better financial situation.
And you've talked about two large items that are on your budget. When you talk about the cell phone, I don't want to say how large mine is, but I've got 4 cell phones at the house. So my bill is sizable. And I was thinking about this the other day when prior to cell phones, my house phone may have been under 100, but now it's way up there.
And I told you how much my cell phone is. And mine is, I have 5 lines at the house, and mine is probably, but it's just, but you know.
And so cell phones, that's a large bill. So I think you can look at your cell phone bills and say, okay, do I really need
But you can
4
do
cell
that.
phones? Do I really need a smartphone? Do I just need a flip phone?
Right. But you can do that. But there are people that can't do it, and they're still trying to keep up with the Joneses and keep up with this new phone, and you get locked in on a contract and and then you're locked in to these things. And not to bash the cell phone, but that's just one thing that, like you said, you really might not need.
Right, and we're not bashing cell phones at all, but that is one item that you have control over. Everybody doesn't need to have an iPad with the Wi-Fi internet connection. It's a great convenience.
Right.
It's great technology, but you won't die if you don't have it. So that's one of those things where you need to revisit. Okay, if I'm living check to check, does everybody need a phone? Does everybody need a smartphone? Maybe we need flip phones. Maybe we need prepaid phones.
True.
Maybe we need to get rid of the tablets.
Internet at the house.
Internet at the house.
Cable,
Do you
all
really
the
need
channels.
internet, all the channels? Do you need all the
Dish.
HBOs and the Showtimes and the Skinamaxes, all that stuff?
So in Playboy, wait a minute. So when you go, let's go into cars and homes, because sometimes a lot of people get locked in with their car payment.
Right.
They think, oh, I'm buying a new car, so let me go get this. You know, you were struggling with the car payment of $305, and then you go buy a car, and now it's $380. Just because it's new, it doesn't make sense to me.
Right. Right.
So how can you? Sometimes you have to downsize with the car.
Sometimes you have to downsize. Sometimes you have, before you get into a car, you have to look at your credit score, because a lot of times if you're in a position where you're financing a number of your big ticket items, if you're in a position where you've got a house and you've got a mortgage or you've got a car note, if your credit wasn't strong to begin with, then you're paying a higher interest rate.
Right.
Back to the cars.
So people don't look at that. They say, "Oh, I have a new car, and it's worth paying more in it," but they're not actually looking at how much their interest rate and how much they're giving away
Exactly.
money.
Some people only look at the payment and don't look at exactly what the interest rate and compare what it would be at one location versus another. So that's one key item. Another thing that people don't understand is cars not only have maintenance cost, there's insurance costs. Different cars are higher to insure than others. So that's that's another. SUVs versus small cars versus mid-sized cars. That's cars that are stolen more often versus cars that aren't stolen as often. That all affects the insurance amount that you pay on a monthly basis. So when it comes to budgeting, you really have to be very, very detailed and continue to revisit, because if you continue to revisit, there may be a bill that you can say, okay, let me call this person up. Maybe I can get a lower rate on my cable. Maybe I can call AT&T or Verizon and get a better rate. They may have a better plan now.
Right.
So there's a number of ways that you can do it, but you won't be able to reduce your expenses if you're not tied in to what your monthly bills are and how they possibly could change.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's one thing that popped in my head, and that's credit cards. And the gift and the curse of the credit card.
Right.
Should we have them or should we not?
Right.
But we're going to come back to that one. I'm going to let you do some research on that one. We're going to revisit that. A lot of good knowledge here on Our Voice, Our Opinion from Mr. Ajamu Stoner, our financial guru. And just remember to try to save and versus splurging, and to revisit your budget from time to time. And we'll come right back, and we'll be right back with more Our Voice, Our Opinion.